Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Man, and welcome to Mondays. Yes, Mondays. It's a brand new week here on Movies TV Mad, and welcome to Monday's edition of the DC Universe Daily Live. And I have questions for James Gunn. So, I understand that they're new to the job and there's no slate at the moment, not officially anyway, and there's certain things they can't tell us. But over a week ago, James Gunn, when he was responding to some fan campaigns, mentioned the brand new DC universe and actually called it a brand new universe. A brand new universe. So I have some questions for him that actually by now he should be able to answer. First of all, is the DCEU dead? Question one. Or is the DCEU and the DC Universe the same franchise and they've just knocked the E out of it, right? Is the DCEU going to have anything to do with DC Universe? I have no idea. That's why I'm asking James Gunn, right? Who's going to be Batman? The DCEU Batman, Ben Affleck, or a brand new actor, or Robert Pattinson? Are next year's DCEU 4 movies that are being released anything to do with the brand new DC universe, right? Because, James, you are calling it, right? You're calling it a brand new universe. Now, these clarifications are so important, really are. And, at the end of the day, people deserve answers because these are the questions that I'm being asked. So, this is what people want to know. So I think some kind of clarification is needed as soon as possible, because when people ask me, they say this is a bit of a mess. And the DCEU is certainly a mess. We don't know if the new DC universe is going to be a mess or not without actually kind of knowing, without knowing what the plan actually is, So what is the plan? That's what we all want to know. What is the plan, right? We don't need a slate. But in the context of DCEU and DC Universe, does one have anything to do with the other? As I say, these are natural questions because, James, you did actually come out and say it's a new universe. And when you do that, right, you've unbottled the genie. So, and people want some clarification at the end of the day. So that's what people want to know. And I think, we have every right to know that as the consumer, because it is a bit weird. And so, people just need to know. Also, a developing story happening right now is that apparently the Superman movie starring Henry Cavill is being fast-tracked. Now, this is a rumor. There's nothing official coming from the studio, but this is a thing people have been saying, insiders have been saying for a while, that Cavill's Superman movie is being fast-tracked. So maybe by the end of December, we will know. Is it possible that they will fast-track 2 or 3 movies to be released in 2024 alongside Todd Phillips' Joker Folie à Deux? Folie à Deux, of course, is Joker 2. Todd Phillips' Joker sequel. The rumor is that the Superman movie starring Henry Cavill is actually being fast-tracked, and who knows? I think it probably is. I think they want that movie out there as soon as possible, and they've probably been working on this movie for the past 6 months. Scott Edwards, what's up? Good morning, Scott Edwards from Cyprus. Welcome to the DC Universe Daily Live. And I've been asking James Gunn some questions. He's not here to answer those questions, but I'm asking, is the DCEU anything to do with DC Universe? Are next year's movies connected to the future of DC Universe? Because James Gunn himself said DC Universe is actually a brand new universe. Scott Edwards, so Keaton has a reduced role in The Flash. He will only be in the Flashpoint story. He will not be part of the new universe. Apparently, just a rumor. Could be wrong. Just a rumor. because Momoa hinted that Keaton and Affleck would be in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, but it was just a hint. He said maybe, maybe not, so we don't know. But that's the rumor coming out. So, as you know, James Gunn is very well aware that people have questions. And maybe you don't want to answer those questions, because if you actually officially say that the DCEU has nothing to do with DC Universe, then maybe people won't want to watch these films. Well, people don't really want to watch these films anyway, because look at the box office for Black Adam. Scott Edwards, my theory is the DCU is a soft reboot, same actors, but new universe. Could be. That's the problem, Scott. We don't actually know what they're planning. As I say, these are questions that people want clarification on, because I don't think it's a big deal, because they know what connections, if any, the DCEU has with the new DC universe. I'll repeat again, it's James Gunn himself who said it's a new DC universe. So James and Peter and the studio themselves can absolutely say DC Universe has nothing to do with the DCEU, or it has everything to do with the DCEU, right? I come on this platform live twice a day, right? And I'm asked these questions. Now, I don't necessarily have the divine right to have the answers to these questions, but I think in terms of the brand, this would really help. It's great that he's communicating. It's great that he's asking fans what they want to see, what they haven't seen before. That's brilliant. And I respect the communication. But these are clarifications I think he could very easily answer. Scott Edwards, Gunn came in at the weekend. Gunn came in at an awkward time with 4 films already coming down the pipe. Yes, I know that, Scott. I know that. And this is the job he's chosen to do. He's chosen this really huge job that he has to succeed at. There can be no more mistakes, right? So he came out over a week ago and said DC Universe is a brand new universe, right? No one's forced him to take this job, Scott. So you don't have to tell us a slate. You don't have to tell us the films. You don't have to tell us everything. You just have to tell us, is the DCEU connected to the DC Universe or not? It's actually that. You don't even have to tell it. I mean, you know, if it's a new DC Universe, if he actually clarifies one doesn't have anything to do with the other, then you can make the assumption that we're getting a brand new Batman. James has already mentioned Batman and Superman together and mentioned what kind of characters they are, how different they are, but also how similar they are in other aspects. So that's very interesting. But yes, Scott, and anyone else who's watching this now or watching this later, I don't think it's a big deal to clarify the DCEU's connection to DC Universe, if there actually is one. Because I think this is something that we were asking when Hamada was going to set up a new timeline via Flashpoint, and it's a question we're going to be asking now. Scott Edwards, Wonder Woman 3 could be too. There's a reboot like Cavill's new Superman movies. Apparently, keep Galdo. Could be. Who knows though? Because we don't have any clarification if one universe has anything to do with the other. For example, the rumors of Jason Momoa playing Lobo. So it could be a realistic situation that he's recast with a more comic book accurate Aquaman, and he now plays Lobo in the new universe, which I'm totally fine with. I don't have any loyalty to the DCEU apart from the fact that I enjoyed most of the films. I understand that we have to move away from that shit show of a franchise. Because again, look at Black Adam, look at Wakanda Forever. Wakanda Forever is part of a good brand, a brand that works. It's already made, Black Adam's box office from the past month in one fucking weekend, basically. That's embarrassing. So at the end of the day, some clarification will help in building this brand. Don't wait. Don't wait to tell us if one universe is connected with the other. Tell us now. That's all we want to know, and it isn't a big deal to tell us. Scott Edwards, Black Adam was well received, though. No, it wasn't. By fans, it was. People who went there, mostly DC fans, enjoyed it, right? But the box office is okay, but it isn't brilliant. Brilliant, Scott. You could argue it's only Black Adam, but then you could argue maybe Black Adam didn't need a fucking movie and should have been a villain in the first Shazam movie in the first place, which would have upscaled that movie's box office in the first place. So it was well received by DC fans, but DC fans, Scott, are not enough. It isn't merely Marvel fans propping up the MCU, it's the general audience. And the general audience aren't consuming enough DC Extended Universe. This is why we're starting with a so-called brand new universe, whatever that actually means. And this is what I'm actually asking clarification on this morning. And so, yes, it's not critics hated it. Let's not get this twisted. Critics hated this movie. I had a good time in the cinema, right? Film stars don't bring people to movies anymore. And the only point having The Rock as Black Adam in his own movie is because people say, well, it's The Rock, he'll bring people to it. Did he, though? Did he bring people to the movie? I mean, there's a post-credit scene, a huge post-credit scene of Superman being revealed to the world again. And it really didn't upscale that box office to a great effect. So, you know, this is a business and they want to make more than 300, 400 million on DC properties. And there's no evidence that Shazam's going to make any more money than this film. There's no evidence that Blue Beetle is going to make any more money than this film. There's no evidence that the Flash movie is going to make any more money, although it should do, but who knows anymore? Scott Edwards, you think Aquaman 2 will do well? Will it do any better than Black Adam? I hope so. I want to see every DC film doing well. Please smash a like, Scott, and the other person who's in the chat would really help me out. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love James Wan, and I'm assuming he's made a great movie. Obviously, the Amber Heard effect kind of makes everything doubtful. Thank you very much. I'm assuming Scott. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. This is the problem. I can tell you that every MCU movie is going to do okay. Thor Love and Thunder, over 800 million. And the other person, thank you for the like as well. Very much appreciated. I love you too. But yeah, so with the DCEU, you never know what's going to happen. Man of Steel barely made 700 million. BVS made 850 million. That's not what the studio wanted. They wanted 2 billion because 2 iconic characters were in it. But they went about that movie the wrong way, even though I really enjoyed it. Suicide Squad did more than Man of Steel. Wonder Woman just about limped to 800 million. I think that a Wonder Woman movie, because she is the third character, you know, she's an iconic character. She should be getting about $1 billion, right? And then you get Justice League, which was a fucking disaster. You get Zack Snyder's Justice League that people loved generally and did okay. Then you had Aquaman. Aquaman is the only $1 billion movie in the DC Extended Universe. And you would have thought, well, maybe more movies now that movie's done well will. But Shazam didn't. Then you had Birds of Prey. Flopped. The Suicide Squad probably flopped because of COVID, but a better film and a really good film. Wonder Woman 84 is a disaster. So Peacemaker was great. Some of Gunn's best work ever. But as Zaslav said when he first came in, such an inconsistent franchise, and it simply doesn't have that consumer loyalty. It doesn't have the branding of the MCU. And as I say, for people saying Phase 4's been bad, and, you know, the MCU's finished. I don't think the MCU is finished at all. Yes, they've become rather progressive, and that's not to everyone's taste. But at the end of the day, people are still coming in for these movies and still excited. You've got 2 Avengers movies announced. You've got an Ant-Man film that finally reveals on the cinema screen Kang the Conqueror. And there's going to be many versions of him. Scott Edwards, did you see Wakanda Forever? No. I'm not paying to see that movie in the cinema. I'll wait till it's available digitally or on Blu-ray or whatever. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't consumed the MCU since episode 3 of Miss Marvel. Maybe it's just not for me anymore. But what I'm saying is people still want to consume that shit. As I say, Wakanda Forever making the entirety of Black Adam's box office is utterly embarrassing. And when you look at Black Adam, it's obvious that film's been condensed together, right? Condensed together, changed a bit to make it at least watchable, which it is. It's a really exciting movie. But it's not a great movie, is it? It's a good movie, but is Black Adam a great movie, Scott Edwards? We should support superhero films. No, Scott, it's not a dictatorship. We support what we want to support. You know, I'm not going to go and see a piece of shit I'm not interested in. I'm a DC fan. I always support DC. I'm not going to support Marvel. Why should I? She-Hulk stood in the front of the screen and said my agenda are a piece of shit. Why should I support that? But what I'm saying is, in defense of the MCU, you know, their movies are still making big money. Scott Edwards, I love both. That's good. Good. I respect the love both people, right? But I ain't a love both. Now, I loved early MCU. I thought it was great. Iron Man 2, shit. Incredible Hulk's great. First Captain America, first Avenger, love it. First Thor, love it. Avengers Assemble, love it. Iron Man 3 isn't the greatest of Iron Man movies or comic book movies, but it's fun and it's enjoyable, right? Shall I go on? Most of those films, Phase 2, Phase 3, pretty cool. Now, but the MCU have always had great world building. And this is why people continue to consume that, right? Excited about Namor, things like that. It isn't for me. The MCU isn't for me, right? And that's okay. And if it's for you, that's wonderful. But it isn't for me. You know, the show's called the DC Universe Daily, after all. Everybody knows me. I'm a huge DC fan. You know, I loved the first 2 years of Arrow, the first 2 years of The Flash, but then it became shit, right? So I stopped watching it because I don't have to watch anything I don't have to watch. You know, I don't want to watch. Scott Edwards, if the Marvels trailer persuades you, will you go see it? No. No. I have no interest in the Marvels at all. But people like my niece will be going to see it. She goes to see every superhero movie. But at the end of the day, I'm not a Marvel fan. You know, I grew up loving Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, the Amazing Spider-Man TV show, you know, Spider-Man 1 and 2 by Sam Raimi, X-Men 1 and 2 by Bryan Singer. I think they're some of the best superhero comic book movies ever made, and they're in my elite list. And not many Marvel films are in my elite list, but those 4 movies certainly are. They're as perfect as you can get. But, yeah, I'm not a Marvel boy, right? I'm a DC boy. As The Rock says, I'm a DC boy. Scott Edwards, is it bad I'm an Arrowverse shill, lol? No, nothing's bad, my friend. As long as you're not a serial killer and you don't abuse people and you're not nasty and you have a good heart, nothing's bad. Nothing's bad, right? It's cool that you like Arrowverse. This is what I love. This is why we didn't want Adolf Hitler to win the Second World War, because everyone gets to be individual and do and love what the fuck they want. I mean, I miss the days before the internet. Now, as you can see, I love the internet. I use the internet, but I think we were a better society before the internet. Scott Edwards, Todd Helbing betrayed and disrespected the Arrowverse. No, I disagree with you, Scott. We've had this conversation before. We can have it again. And I can tell you this, that they've literally cancelled every Arrowverse show. The Flash is ending. Superman and Lois is all that's left, right? Now, you've had multiple series of shows. This is why I don't understand people fighting for more Legends of Tomorrow. They've had 6 fucking seasons. 6 or 7, right? So at the end of the day, you've had so much Arrowverse, right? You've had enough, right? They've sold the CW. Basically, the reason you're losing Arrowverse is because they want to create a DC universe spanning films, TV animation, and games in one universe. That's why the Arrowverse is going. Short Circuit, do you think The Flash can give a good amount of profit to WB? Look, my friend, it's very, very, very difficult. I mean, listen, the Flash movie has got things that we all love in terms of modern day comic book movies. It's got crossovers, it's got cameos, it's got Easter eggs. It respects different live action iterations of different DC universes, which is fun. It's a well-made movie, but whether or not people are going to come in for it, I have no idea. I would expect it at the very least to make at least 600 million. But again, because the DCEU's never had the branding and the consumer confidence and loyalty of the MCU, you just don't know. Scott Edwards, but they promoted Superman and Lois as being part of Earth Prime, then pulled the rug from under the fans. when did they actually promote it as being Earth Prime? Didn't you kind of suspect something when, you know, there was no Supergirl, that he didn't mention Supergirl, that he's wearing a different costume? Didn't you kind of suspect this? It was pretty obvious, Scott, that it wasn't Arrowverse. The only person we ever saw was Diggle, and I don't even understand. Is Diggle crossing the multiverse? I don't fucking get that. But I don't know why they wanted to move away from Arrowverse. They wanted Superman and Lois to be a new era. Maybe Superman and Lois can be part of the new DC universe somehow. I don't know. I mean, I don't work there. I mean, I'm just throwing a few guesses. It's a great show. Don't like how they treated Jordan Alas. No support from the cast. The lad who plays his brother didn't even, basically unfollowed him on Instagram. So I didn't like that. So I won't be watching that anymore either. I like loyalty. I'm a bit like Sanchez, the villain in License to Kill, the Bond movie. I like loyalty. I respect loyalty. I reward loyalty. But yeah, so it's clear they want one universe at the end of the day. One universe, and Arrowverse doesn't come into it. It had to go. You can't have Arrowverse in the DC universe. It's had long enough. Short Circuit. What about Shazam 2? How do you see Shazam 2 performance in box office? Well, I know a lot about this film, and I think most people know a lot about this film, and I just think it's a paint-by-numbers movie. I think what people are saying to me, it's a lot of fun, it's really entertaining, it's probably a better movie than Black Adam, but I don't see I don't see more people coming in than Black Adam, but again, I could be wrong. It could hit 500, maybe 600 again. But again, the thing is, man, Short Circuit, because there's no consumer loyalty with it, because they haven't endeared themselves to the mainstream general audience. You never know what each film is going to get. So that's the problem. Scott Edwards, you should watch the Flash Season 9 opening crossover arc. Maybe. I'm interested for the future. I'm interested for this brand new DC universe because it looks like they've got a great blueprint for great DC live action and animation and gaming. That's what excites me. I was very invested in the Snyderverse. The Snyderverse is gone. There's some other great movies in the DCEU, but as a franchise, there's not a franchise there. There's just not a cohesive franchise there. And in terms of Arrowverse, as I say, I lost interest in the first few years. Again, slaughtering my gender, hating on my gender. Yeah, where I'm taking you, there's no men. Don't worry. Nah, thanks. I'm done. Scott Edwards, Smallville had 10 seasons and proper conclusion. Flash deserves the same. But Smallville was a pre-Superman story, Scott Edwards. What conclusion do you want from Arrowverse? It's just a bunch of superheroes saving people. What conclusion? There's not a continuing thread. Smallville had a continuing thread. Smallville needed a conclusion because Clark had to become Superman. That's what the series finale was. Are Clark and Lois going to get married or not? What's going to happen in the future? Will Lex come back? There's no threads in Arrowverse to tie up, Scott. You've had, let me just count to you how many fucking Arrowverse seasons you've had. You've had 8. I told you this before. You've had 8 seasons of Arrow. You're going to have 9 seasons of The Flash. Do the maths, because I'm thick. I can't do the maths. I can't. I actually went to a school to help me with my maths and other stuff, so I can't put it together. I'm thick, right? But yeah, 9 and 8, right? Add that up, right? And then you've got, what was the third series? Supergirl had about 4 seasons, right? Add that up, right? And then you had Legends of Tomorrow, 6 seasons, right? And then I think Black Lightning had 3 or 4 seasons. Add that up, and obviously I'm forgetting other shows, right? So you've got a lot of fucking seasons. What franchise, right, apart from, the Law and Order, franchise, has that kind of, seasons and episodes? How much more do you want, Scott? Arrow versus Smallville. Smallville was one pre-Superman series, right? So, I think you've had more than enough, right? But if you want Arrowverse wrapped up, it's going to be wrapped up in season 9 of The Flash. So it's happening. So what else? Why, if it's being wrapped up in Superman and Lois, maybe in The Flash, probably, What else do you need apart from that season 9 series finale of The Flash? How much more do you want? Aren't you excited, Scott? Can't you move beyond Arrowverse? Getting a DC universe spanning films, TV, animation, and games. That's what you should be focusing on, and enjoy the finale of The Flash in the final season. How much more do you want? Because nobody's watching it, Scott. They're not making money. You know, Warner Brothers Discovery isn't a charity. It should represent DC in the right way, these worlds and characters, right? But at the end of the day, you know, how much more do you want? Because the rest of us DC fans want to see what James and Peter are suggesting here, because I think that's the way to go, and how we bring in an audience, how they can make money and they can entertain us at the same time. That's the thing. So I think apart from the Flash series finale, you don't need anything else. You've had enough. You've had enough. And it's finishing anyway. It's done. But you've had a lot of Arrowverse. Wow. I mean, a lot. I can't think of... Smallville didn't have as many episodes as Arrowverse, but Smallville's just one show. Arrowverse is, you know, lots of different seasons, lots of different shows. You can't really, Scott, you can't even compare one with the other. So, you know, Scott Edwards, oh, don't get me wrong, I'm excited for the new universe, but they really dropped the ball with Arrowverse after Crisis by establishing the Justice League and never using them again. Yeah, you're right. It was pre-COVID, they had a plan, and then after COVID, the merger happened, and Zaslav didn't want the CW because the CW doesn't make any money. And Zaslav came in and said, I want a DC universe. That means all the other DC stuff has to go because we want one universe, right? We don't want to confuse people. So the plan basically changed. Then Berlanti went over to do a Green Lantern show. We've got Mark Guggenheim. Didn't work out because obviously Zaslav could see it was very progressive, didn't like that. Now he's asking him to redevelop it into a Jon Stewart show, which I'm not happy about either, because Jon Stewart should be on the cinema screen and certainly not developed by Greg Berlanti, who actually was involved in the original Green Lantern movie, and a movie that failed. Ronnie Dodge, hey mate, that interview still makes me angry. Do you know what, Ronnie? It makes me angry too. I don't want you to misunderstand me. It doesn't change what he's been as a player. But at the end of the day, I feel if he wasn't going to leave, he wouldn't have done it. Or maybe he feels because he's going to the World Cup, it was the right time. I don't know. But he's saying he's been driven out the club. Everyone else has been saying he's wanted to leave the club. Here's the truth. Cristiano Ronaldo was sulking because United didn't finish in the Champions League and he wanted out. All he cares about is stat padding his legacy. He don't care about United. He don't care about the fans. Fuck off out of my club. Scott Edwards, do you think The Mandalorian and the Ashoka series are unnecessary? No, I think Andor is unnecessary. I think they're building out something special there with these Clone Wars situations, right? Not Clone Wars, but, you know, people like Ahsoka was in Clone Wars, right? So I don't think they're unnecessary, but I think Andor is the most unnecessary thing I've ever seen. And for the people saying that Andor is the Star Wars you always wanted and you don't need lightsabers and laser guns in a fucking Star Wars show or a movie, that's what Star Wars was bred on. Light entertainment, storytelling. Yeah, there was some political threads about, a kind of someone who wanted to dominate the world and manipulate the world and brought it down to darkness, which is great. But it was always fun to watch Star Wars. It's not fun to watch The Force Awakens. It's not fun to watch The Last Jedi. It's not fun to watch The Rise of Skywalker. It's not fun to watch Solo. It's not fun to watch most of that shit. Scott Edwards, the Arrowverse crossovers are good. I recommend those to DC fans. Well, I was trying to watch Crisis the other day, but they always do something that's annoying, even in their crossovers. But yeah, I mean, look, the crossovers are cool. And at the end of the day, Scott, if you like it, you like it. Scott Edwards, it's fun to watch The Mandalorian. Yes, it's more fun to watch The Mandalorian than the others. Ronnie Dodge, I think he's upset is that we played better without him. And to say Eric don't respect him, what he did at Spurs to Eric is disrespectful. So it works both ways. But he's gone, new striker in January. Listen, Ronnie, there's a manager and there's everyone else. This is how it used to work, and this is how it should work. What the manager fucking says goes, right? That's it. He's the fucking boss. You're a 37-year-old player who went on strike in pre-season. To make things worse, you didn't have a pre-season. And pre-season is so important to every player's fitness. That's what footballers say to me, right? But for a player of his age, it's vital. So now he's got no form because he didn't have a pre-season, which makes him useless to Eric. Now, it's clear to me Eric probably didn't want him from the beginning, but at the end of the day, there's ways of doing these things. Nobody wants you, Cristiano. I wish the club would just terminate his fucking contract. There's too many he's a legend bullshit. I don't care if he's a legend. And the shit he said about Rooney is disgusting and despicable. Oh, he's jealous of me. What a fucking kid. Oh, he's only jealous. No. Rooney knows his limitations. Rooney knows the mistakes he's made, right? Rooney is spitting facts. Scott Edwards, do you think The Flash Season 9 will only wrap up Barry's story of Arrowverse or as a whole? Well, considering they're already kind of bringing the actress who plays Batgirl in it to play someone else, it looks like they probably will kind of do some wrap up with it. I think that's what they'll do. Ronnie Dodge, Eric is the boss. What he said about Rooney and Ragnick is just vile. Saying he's better looking than Wayne. Sorry, but Wazza is a legend. Well, this is bullying. This is schoolyard. This is what I think about this interview. That's why the interview doesn't really bother me as it does you and others, right? And I'll tell you why. If you're intelligent, Ronnie, you can see that the interview has no context. It's just one-sided. I don't respect the manager because he doesn't respect me. As I said on my video, why doesn't he respect you, Cristiano? What have you done? He doesn't mention that. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, one of the worst managers in United history and football history, doesn't get mentioned. I'm assuming he's all right because he let you do whatever the fuck you wanted, right? So he says all these things. He says United hasn't evolved as a club. No shit, Sherlock. I could have told you that. We don't need you to tell us that. I care about the fans. You don't care about the fans. You don't give a shit. All you care about is yourself. Ronnie Dodge, I'm over it now. Let's talk about DC. Let's. That's what I'm here for. This is the DC Universe Daily Live, and I've been asking James Gunn some questions. Is the DCEU dead? What connection would a DCEU have to DC Universe, if any? We need clarification. I'm not asking for a slate. I'm not asking for who Batman is. I just want to know. Is the DCEU and DC Universe connected, or are we starting from scratch? James Gunn himself called DC Universe a brand new universe. But Peacemaker was part of the DCEU. So what does that mean, right? People are confused. And all you have to do, James, is give that smidging of clarification. It literally doesn't give any spoilers away. I think the consumer would really respect you if you gave them clarification, because these are the questions I'm asked every single day, which I can't answer. Ronnie George, I'm guessing in time them answers from James will be answered, yeah. But I think I'm not asking for slates, Ronnie. I'm not asking for anything else but clarification. I think if you want a brand and you want, because people say to me, it's a mess, Mick. Why don't you know what's going on? People are confused. They don't understand, Ronnie. They need to know. They need to know. This is a brand. This is a business. And, you know, for years now, it's Justice. What's canon? Justice League, the Snyder Cut. Shit like that can't continue. Scott Edwards, Andor is not Star Wars. No, it's another bunch of progressives saying, this is so timely. This is so real. Well, that's not fucking Star Wars. Star Wars is supposed to be fun. So obviously it's got the Star Wars branding on it. So officially it is Star Wars, but I'm not watching it. I don't care about it. And, you know, they can keep on, showing that guy with a serious face. I don't care. I'm not going to watch it. And I've seen it on the internet. Go watch it. Go watch it. No, I'm not going to fucking watch it. I'm not interested. Whoever's interested, shoot, go watch it. So I'm not interested in that. So, yeah, I do think we need some clarification. I think clarification is important. They gave clarification about kind of the fan campaigns the other week. And then he says, we're focusing on this brand new universe. Brand new universe. What about the other one? That you've got 4 movies coming out. So is that not DC Universe, right? We don't even know that. If next year's films are now DC Universe, we don't know even that. Even that small clarification, Ronnie, right, would really help. It's this lack of clarification that got the DCEU in trouble, and now it has no consumer loyalty. Look at Black Adam. What's Shazam Fury of the Gods going to do? Any better? I don't think so. The Flash, any better? Who knows? Blue Beetle, well. And, you know, the general audience don't even know who Blue Beetle is. And then you've got Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. You've got the Amber situation, you know, hanging over him. It's a shame because I think Amber's a great mirror. What's going to happen there? You know, mess. At least I think I can pretty much tell you all that Amber Heard will not be Mira in the new DC universe. I think that's one thing we can say. And this is how they get themselves out of things, by saying, new universe, we decided to go a different direction, without saying, oh, it's because of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing, right? Scott Edwards, which DCEU movie has the best action sequence to you? Wow, that's a very fucking good question. I mean, Man of Steel has got great action sequences on Krypton. There's some, you know, there's some brilliant stuff between Superman and the Kryptonians. I think the Smallville battle, especially between Faora and Superman, is awesome. I love it when he's fighting the World Machine. I forgot what it's called. When he's like trying to destroy it, that's an awesome action sequence. No Man's Land, which Ronnie, I'll read out Ronnie's message in a minute. No Man's Land is fucking one of the best things you'll ever see in a film. Full stop. Obviously, Aquaman has some beautiful underwater action scenes as well. The Batfleck fight in the warehouse is probably my favorite. It's so awesome. But there's so many, Scott. Ronnie Dodge, No Man's Land is one of the best scenes. Yeah, No Man's Land, that's what I just said. Absolutely fantastic. It's a shame because the DCEU did some wonderful things, but the thing that it didn't do in terms of a franchise. And I think that's disappointing. That's disappointing, but it's happened now. It's in the past. We can't affect the past. James Gunn and the rest of the team are trying to affect DC's future, and that's right. But I do think we deserve, as fans, at least a little bit of clarification. At least tell us if next year's movies are DCEU or DCU. Ronnie Dodge, at Speed of Force is incredible. At the Speed of Force is incredible. Yeah, you're talking about the Snyder Cut bit. Yeah, that's incredible. Looks brilliant. It's emotional. It's compelling. Everything you want to see from a movie or from a piece of storytelling, but especially a comic book movie. Who's there? Any Batman Lego movie fans here? Because I think that film's fucking amazing. And it's ironic it came out just after BVS. And I think literally Lego Batman got Batman a lot more right than BVS did, even though I love BVS. Lego Batman was funny. It was fun. But it was also, it had a core emotional message where don't stay alone. Work with a team. You know, and that's what he's scared of because he lost his parents. That's more fucking Batman than anything. Watching it yesterday, I had such a good time rewatching it. Lego Batman is so fucking cool. The people who made that film deserve. I think they were the ones who originally, one of the ones who were going to do the Flash movie originally. I think they're the ones who did Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse. So they're very talented guys. I think it was them anyway. I think they certainly did Lego movie, didn't they? But yeah, I think Batman, people are going to laugh at me. I think Lego Batman is one of my favorite Batman movies ever. It is so good. So good. I know I was discussing it last night and I'm repeating myself, but it just always has such an impression on me. It's just a really fun movie. So yes, some clarification needed for sure. If you're going to put the big boots on, then people are going to have questions for you. It's clear he knows what's DC Universe and what's not DC Universe. He may not have a slate. He may not have a list of movies, although they are talking about Superman being fast-tracked very, very soon. I still think they're going to try and get out a couple of films for 2024. At least if you can have Joker and a couple of DC Universe movies next year, in 2024, should I say, at least you'd have 3 DC movies, and that's a start. So I think maybe there could be some fast tracking, but we don't want them to rush anything. Otherwise, it's the same old problems all over again. So yeah. So we're going to have to be patient. I understand that, but I think fans are confused. And it would really help to clarify things a little bit. And especially for me, the day I find out what the DCEU has to do with the DC universe, if anything, will be a very special day and an exciting day to bring it to you here. Because wow, won't that be exciting to actually know for once what the fuck's going on in a DC franchise and what's canon and what's not. Because it is important, because it does matter if you're a fan. I mean, it won't solve world hunger or any of the problems we have in the world, but in terms of what's happening in this future DC Universe franchise, it's very, very important. And yeah, clarification needed. Clearly, they're not saying anything because they're not ready to say anything. They're probably worried about admitting how little these DCEU movies have to do with the future in case it affects their box office. But in terms of Black Adam, you can tell that does it even matter anymore? Edwards, do you think one of the DCEU's biggest problems is it was coming off of the heels of the Dark Knight trilogy? No, because that could have been easily solved. I said this a few weeks ago, because basically the Dark Knight trilogy in the DCEU should have been part of the same franchise. When Man of Steel came, Bale's Batman should have been the DCEU Batman. You had Nolan and Goya, who did all three of those movies, but they didn't want their Batman involved. And that's the problem. Because if you're saying that the Dark Knight trilogy is part of the DCEU and Man of Steel is the next movie, considering it was written by the two blokes who, wrote and directed the Dark Knight trilogy, it made more sense. But after just a few, I'll tell you what actually the Dark Knight, how it hurt, is by them casting a brand new Batman, right? Because Bale was so popular. So they did it to themselves. All they had to do is make the Dark Knight trilogy part of the DC Extended Universe and make Bale that universe's Batman because he was already in that universe. That's what made sense. And they made a mistake there for sure. But it's their fault. It's not, it's the trilogy that hurt. It's nothing to do with their creative bankruptcy. No. They could have solved that situation so easily. And it's just common sense. Common sense. Bale's a popular Batman. We just saw his last movie, like when we go to Man of Steel, like just a few years ago, right? So nobody wants a brand new Batman. So it's obvious that if Nolan asks Bale to be involved, Bale's going to be involved, right? But no, I don't want my Batman involved. Well, you've taken this job of this Godfather role, of this Superman movie, this franchise, and yeah, Scott Edwards, but Bale wasn't Batman anymore. Scott, did you actually listen to a word that I said? Right, I'm going to say it slowly to you. Right, listen, right? Listen. At the end of The Dark Knight Rises, basically, either Batman is dead or Alfred sees him eating at a restaurant with Selina. We don't know. That's the whole point. We don't know if he's dead or alive. What I'm saying is that Man of Steel could have been the next movie after The Dark Knight Rises, part of the same universe, which means Bale would have been Batman in that franchise. Do you get me? Right? So he would have still been Batman. That's what I'm saying. He wasn't Batman anymore, and they brought in Ben Affleck because it's a separate franchise, but the DCEU and the Dark Knight trilogy should have been a part of the same franchise. That's what I'm saying. That's where the mistake was. That's what I'm trying to say. That the Dark Knight franchise and the DCEU franchise should have been one in the same. The Dark Knight franchise was popular. Bale was popular. You don't cast another Batman. There was no need to cast another Batman. You've got a fucking epic Batman already. But again, they dropped the ball. And that is my opinion on that. So they bring in Ben Affleck, who, when he was announced, wasn't popular. Like Eisenberg wasn't popular. Like Leto wasn't popular. Mistake after mistake after mistake. And then the general audience say, nah, No, I don't like this. I don't like this. You know, I don't want to be depressed when I'm watching that. Not me, but them. They're saying I don't want to be depressed when I'm watching a Superman movie or when I'm watching a Batman and Superman movie. I want it to be a celebration. Why have we got a Suicide Squad movie as the third movie? These are the questions. Scott Edwards. Or they should have given Diana and Bruce solo movies first in the new universe. Maybe that would have helped. That would have helped instead of a Batman and Superman movie, right? But that was the studio who wanted that Batman and Superman movie. They decided to name it Batman versus Superman. Proof they don't know nothing about DC. Scott Edwards, in addition to Man of Steel, look, what Feige and MCU did from the beginning, which is build up to Avengers Assemble with individual movies, it's common sense. It's not even genius. It's not rocket science. It's elementary thinking. It's elementary thinking. That's it. I could have done it. You could have done it. It was fucking obvious what they could have done. Man of Steel, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Cyborg, right? All of that, and then give us a Justice League movie. But not one where you have to bring Superman back from the fucking dead. This is elementary thinking, everyone, because I like Snyder and I like his movies. But in terms of building a brand, that's not how you fucking build a brand. And the director himself said he doesn't care about the general audience. Then what are you fucking doing there, mate? You shouldn't be there. Love you, love your wife, love your films, that you're a great lad. But what the fuck were you doing there? You had no business there because the studio, they said they shouldn't have brought you on in the first place, or Nolan wanted to attract the general audience. Now, they were never going to do that using you and Chris Nolan in the first place, right? But if you're going to have Nolan and Goya involved, at least fucking use the franchise that they've already built and expand on it. Now, obviously, those two men didn't want to do that, so I'd say, fuck off. Fuck off, that you're not doing it. You're not bringing in Zack Snyder. I'm bringing someone from the comic book universe. I'm bringing Jeff Johns or someone else who, you know, whoever, right? Get someone else to run it, right? If Joss Whedon was allowed to build out his own DC Extended Universe, I bet it was awesome. Yeah, Joss Whedon may not be Mother Teresa. He may not be a very nice bloke. But he did Avengers Assemble. He wrote and directed Avengers Assemble. Did a great job. Even if you don't like his second movie, he did a great job with that movie. He could have built out a great DC universe. And then we wouldn't have had the problems with the reshoots and the toxicity that happened, that I blame the cast and the crew and Whedon altogether. They were all to blame. Scott Edwards, Arrowverse actually built their universe well. Yes, they built a franchise. They built a franchise. And it worked. It worked. But, you know, DC studios want to build out a brand new franchise that interconnects with movies, TVs, games, animation. So they don't want Arrowverse. So Arrowverse is, forget it. Just enjoy the reruns and the final season of The Flash. But yeah, they did build a franchise. But it's done. It's over. Dead before it started. Dead before the creation of man. It's finished. We're building out a new universe, and new characters and new actors playing these iconic characters have the right to come in. That's what it's all about. You know, most people, so many actors have played different characters, iconic characters, you know, so this is how it works. This is how legacy works, Scott. You can't have Arrowverse for the next 50 years, right? And, you know, without being rude, just because you like it, because it doesn't attract enough people. It was a TV franchise. So you could have expanded that as the DC universe, but they didn't want to do that. Zaslav didn't want to do that. I pretty much know why. I mean, it's a ready-made universe. It would have been easy, but clearly there's issues there that he didn't want to deal with. And I know what the issues are. The same issue that made Zaslav tell them to stop making that Green Lantern show and focus it on Jon Stewart. Bit weird to corner Jon Stewart on HBO Max, a platform, you know, the whole world can't watch together. That's a bit weird, but there you go. This is the DC Universe Daily Live. We will be live for another 10 and a quarter minutes to be exact. I like these. I love these episodes in the morning to be at least an hour. And normally in the evening, we talk for a couple of hours. So why don't you join me tonight as well. I will be back. And what we do, if anyone comes in being a bit nasty, we are ignoring them. I know sometimes I take the bait, but I'm not going to be taking the bait going forward. We're just going to ignore them. And we're going to have a good time talking about our DC, our entertainment, our movies. We're just sitting around the table, basically down the pub, bunch of people talking about what we love and talking about the future of DC Universe and film and entertainment in general, whatever you want to talk about in the evening. But this is a DC show. So predominantly, I like talking about DC. Now, if someone wants to talk about Manchester United quickly, of course, because I'm a Man United fan. I do like some Man United videos. There's probably a playlist on my channel of United videos. I will do them occasionally, but because most of my subscribers are literally DC movie Doctor Who fans, that's the subject matter that I stick to, because that's what people know me as now, so I can't change that. And I wouldn't want to change that either. But when something big happens with Manchester United, of course, I'm going to talk about it. And I felt the need to do the video about Ronaldo. And that's where we are. Scott Edwards, people don't get that Affleck was supposed to be an older, grizzled Batman. That's the problem, Scott. We missed all the fun. We missed his adventures with Dick Grayson. We missed his adventures with Batgirl. It's all gone. It's all off screen, Scott. It doesn't work. With Robert Pattinson, he's got all that to come. He's just met a brilliant version of Selena Kyle. Played brilliantly and written brilliantly. Great future. The Robert Pattinson era of Batman is just getting started. I can't wait for the Penguin. I can't wait for Arkham. It's all there. The only thing that happened off screen is year one. And that's okay, because we've seen year one, right? We saw year one in Batman Begins. We don't need to see that again. Year two was a good place to start. And the Batman is just fucking awesome. Awesome. Matt Reeves is a freaking genius. He is actually a detective, the greatest detective. He can actually solve crimes. He's brilliant. His story was brilliant. I love that film. I don't want Batman's best adventures to be behind him. That's the problem with having an older, grizzled Batman. People didn't want that. The general audience didn't want that. A predominant amount of DC Comics fans who actually read the comics and have invested in the comics don't want that. They want to celebrate Batman and Superman. They want world's finest. They don't want Batman and Superman wanting to fucking murder each other. They didn't want that. Again, I love Snyder. I love these three movies. But the general audience, the ones that are so important, and fans in general, didn't want that. That's why Snyder was fired in the end. But he shouldn't have been there. It should have been obvious to them that that was the wrong fit. And as soon as Nolan said, I want Zack Snyder, they should have said, he did Watchmen. We have problems with him because he doesn't listen. He just wants his own way, and that's it. You can't really work with someone like that when they're working on one of the biggest IPs in the fucking history of IPs. You know, compromise can be a good thing. You sit down and you say, let's compromise, because they're not your characters, right? You can't do whatever the fuck. It's not your money, and it's not your IP. It's not your characters, right? They belong to Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers have a right. Jeff Johns, as his boss, had a right to say, hang on a minute, mate. We don't want this. This is not going to work. He told them in Man of Steel. He warned them about the neck breaking. Jeff Johns told them. They wouldn't even let him through the door because Nolan was protecting him. But whether you like Jeff Johns or not, he is a brilliant comic book writer. He is. He's proved it. I don't care if you hate him and you're going to say, he's bad. He ain't. He's very talented, right? And he learned everything he knows from Richard Donner, the guy who did the first and best Superman movie. So I'm not going to listen to any shit about Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns made some good points to Zack Snyder, and Zack Snyder didn't want to listen. So in the end, Jeff became the worst version of himself. And Zack became the worst version of himself. And they all started arguing like fucking children. It's his fault. No, it's his fault. It's her fault. Finger pointing. It was all of their fucking faults. And this is why the DCEU is a freaking mess. Scott Edwards, 20 years of stuff we didn't see. Exactly, Scott. I want to see Dick Grayson. I mean, again, going back to Lego Batman, we get Dick Grayson and it's done in a kind of, you know, juvenile way, but it's done that. Actually, look at the relationship there and how in the end he does adopt him and he does become his son. You know, that is actually a fucking Batman movie. That's actually a great Batman movie. Just open up the comics, right? It's got that feel. Lego Batman is brilliant. And if every DC movie has the kind of joyfulness and emotional storytelling kind of, gravitas that Lego Batman did, and I know people are going to say, it's a kid's movie, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, who do you think these characters were created for, by the way? But anyway, when I finish watching Lego Batman, I feel, yes, love DC, yeah? This is what Marvel fans used to do when they used to go and watch Marvel films. Yes, it's a celebration of these characters. That's the point. People want to enjoy these movies. They're not meant to be dowdy and too serious. Even when you think of Tim Burton's movies, right, that are kind of darker in a kind of, I suppose, in a pantomime kind of way, but they've still got an element of fun to them, right? You can actually enjoy those movies. And that's the problem. That's the problems. At the end of the day, BVS isn't what most people wanted. And you can keep on saying 850 million. Not enough. It's a business, right? It isn't Zack Snyder's charity. It isn't Oxfam for Zack Snyder. Warner Brothers is a conglomerate. They want to make money on their biggest IP. And they put the wrong people in charge of their most important IP. Now, putting James Gunn and Peter Safran in charge of DC is better, but we'll have to wait and see if they're the right people. Yeah, and again, that's how I see that. And, I can love Snyder. I can love his DC movies, but I can also say, as a business, as branding, it's not the way you should go. And I think we can say that. We can love someone, but we can say, look, mate, can you sit down here? I think, it's like, if I was on set while they were constructing this new DC universe, I would literally advise them as a fan. Now, I haven't read many DC comics, so I can't tell them information. But what I can say is, yeah, maybe you shouldn't do that with Superman. Maybe that's a problem. Because they do need a fan perspective rather than just their own perspectives. And someone just to constructively say, no, or yes, And I think that would be fun for them to allow some people, some fans. And now already, Gunn is trying to get a lot of fan opinion, and he wants that. And it's important because this is a business. And if you don't make us, your consumer, happy, if we don't want to watch your shit, then you don't have a business. You don't have a brand. This isn't, entertainment is a business. It isn't, it isn't fanfic for the entertainment industry. They need to make money. And if they're not making money, then it's pointless. And whether you like us or not, your predominant audience, right? Whether you like us or not for political reasons or not, we can make you money, right? And you can be celebrated. So we shouldn't be shaving upwards, and we shouldn't be doing what Snyder was doing. But also, Snyder didn't deserve the toxicity that he got, and I admit that. Personally, I never gave him toxicity because I enjoy his stuff. But it isn't just about me. It isn't just about you. It's about all DC fans. It's about the general audience. When they were making Back to the Future, they made a movie in the context, what will people enjoy out of a summer blockbuster or whenever it was released, right? Back to the Future is a joyful fucking movie about a kid learning more about his parents, because I wish I knew more about my parents, about their past and them growing up, because generally we don't see our parents as people. We just see them as figures who are there for us. So what Back to the Future does is that Marty ends up seeing his parents as people. He becomes best friends with George in the past. Basically, there's some twisted kind of romance kind of going on between him and his mother, which is a bit twisted, I admit. But I suppose, he doesn't fancy his mum. His mum fancies him because she doesn't know that's her son. But he gets to know his parents. But he also has a lot of fun, and it's just a simple adventure. That's how movies used to be made. It was about going to the cinema and enjoying yourself. Gremlins, Ghostbusters, RoboCop. RoboCop is a very dark movie, and it's kind of pre-warning you about a future that could easily happen if you let the bad people take over. But it's still a lot of fun to watch RoboCop. What's your name, son? Murphy. And you leave the cinema joyously celebrating something, which we don't really do anymore. right? Very rarely do we do that. Even Masters of the Universe, starring, Dolph Lundgren and Frank Langella. It's not a great movie. It's not a well-made movie, right? It's not what you would say as, this is how you should make a movie. But ultimately, you leave the fucking cinema after Masters of the Universe wanting more and enjoying it. And the director worked really hard, even put his own money in to finish that movie because Canon was so shit. And this is what I want to see from the new DC universe. When I finish watching Lego Batman, I'm feeling, yes, DC. And that's what I want to feel after each DC movie, TV, animation, and games. This has been Movies TV Mad and the DC Universe Daily Life. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wife. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again tonight when I'm live again. Until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. Thank you, and I shall see you later. And it was nice chatting with you, Scott Edwards. Hope you're back tonight. If not, I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Nope, that's not what I want. See ya.